Hello all, welcome back to my little series on fixing up this old Sony TC-270 open reel deck. In part 1 you'll remember that we got the electronics working, at least I think we did. And here in part 2 we're going to try and get the rest of it working. So, let's just find out together real quick how the mechanism's doing these days. I'll just grab you with the tripod here. I decided to go ahead and do this one with my iPhones instead of using the Action 3 because the Action 3 is quite frankly a little, well, it doesn't really work so well with this type of a deal. So let's find out what's going on with this. Let's see if I can set you up here. Kind of difficult. So we'll just see how things work here. This up here is the speed controller. Let's try that first. You'll see that this idler moves up and down to correspond to the different speeds to engage different sections of the pulley. And that looks like it's doing okay. I'll just throw it all the way down there. That's 7.5 or 7.25. One of them. I don't know. It's the higher speed. Anyway, this is rewind. I did monkey around with this a little bit off camera, so I did get rewind working. Or rather, it would work if I had the deck off the table so the motor could work. We've got something up here hanging up, which is very possible. Yeah, see, there goes rewind. And that's all this belt is for, which is good because I don't have replacements for any of these belts right now. We're just going to have to reuse the ones on here. Now we'll try play. And unfortunately, we've got no take-up reel action whatsoever. That's because this idler is not moving into position properly. It's supposed to go up and over. I can force it to do so. Like that. I think. There it goes. Then pause is obviously not working properly. We've still got the take-up being engaged. It's supposed to pull us back down away, but there is a little fulcrum there, and that is all locked up solid, so it's really difficult to get this mechanism to do anything right now. There it goes. We got fast forward now. But yeah, you can see that this thing is not moving the way it's supposed to be. I can't even get it out of pause very easily right now. It's supposed to come down like that and then go back this way, and it's not doing that. So we have a lot of work ahead of us because every moving part on this whole assembly has to come off for cleaning and then relubing. And the first thing we're going to have to do is get this plate off because there's a lot of stuff underneath here that has to be relubing. That's why this pinch roller is having trouble moving up and down. See, there's this little arm down here that swivels up and over. That has to be cleaned as well. There's a lot of old nasty grease here that has to be dealt with. And in terms of lubrication, I'm doing something a little different than I usually do with cassette decks, and I'm going with sewing machine oil along with my Lubriplate 105. We're going to be using a lot of this stuff on this machine. And I don't know exactly what type of lube they want you to use for various locations, but I will figure that out as we go, I guess. And you'll notice that there are these clear caps over these two idlers. This is to prevent the mechanism from slinging oil or grease all over the place and getting it where you don't want it, like on this giant flywheel back here. So yeah, I think we're going to do this in stages. First, I'm going to deal with this right away. Maybe take the flywheel completely off so we can get access to everything underneath. Then I'll do this side, then I'll do this side, and then we'll do the reel tables at the very end, I guess. Or in a combination of things, or a combination of procedures here. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how much talking I'm going to be doing on camera because there's a lot of work to do here, but yeah, I'm shooting this on 4K 30. I'm not going to edit the project in 4K 30. I'll do it in 1080p, but the reason I'm doing 4K 30 is just so I can crop in if I need to, and I will probably need to because I don't really have a good setup going here for video on this kind of a machine. So I'm going to put my gloves on and then we'll get started. Alright, I got my gloves on and I went and got the WD-40 that I forgot to get. That'll help us deal with some stubborn issues, of which I expect to encounter a few. We'll start by taking off all the controls and such. And yeah, when you're doing something like this, take lots of pictures, go real slow, and make sure that you put everything back where it originally went. I do have the service manual for this, so I'm not too worried. But even so, I've never done this kind of work on this machine before, so hopefully it all goes well. Let me see. Did I go to all of them? No, I didn't. We got one screw down in here. And one thing you want to be careful of when you're moving this head assembly around, these wires can get brittle with age and pull themselves right off the head, so make sure you check afterwards. And I'm just going to take a little quick picture of that with my 13 Pro Max because I should be using it for filming, but I'm using the old 10S Max again for some reason, which will probably run out of battery by the time I'm done. But yeah, the field recorder is doing really well with audio here. I'm real happy with it so far. There it is right there, working fine. And I hope to get a lot of use out of that this summer. We'll see. Okay, so is this loose now? It seems like it might be. I only saw 4 screws, and one of them had a washer. This one right here. That one went right there. So I'll have to make sure I put that back on properly. Let's see, do I have to take the capstan bearing off? Well, it looks like I took out the wrong screw from underneath, actually. Wonderful. Okay, so we should be able to get this off now. I don't know if this spring has to come off. I really don't want to pull this whole shaft off because if I do that, then I'm not sure if I can get it back on properly. And it looks like there's another little set screw down in there. That should enable me to pull this off, I think. But that set screw is frozen. So maybe I won't worry about that. Okay, so I got the thing apart, not that it was easy. And I ended up loosening both set screws that are under here for this piece. And we're probably going to have to adjust on that later, but you do not have to mess with this in order to get the head block up. It's just it was really badly gummed up and really hard for me to get this off without WD-40. So I'm glad I went and got that. So it came off easier. Now I'm going to put you over here so you can see what I'm doing. And we're going to start working on all this gummed up nonsense. And there's probably a lot of it. First we'll try and pull the flywheel off like so. I'm going to get some shop towel. And we are going to clean the capstan, because it's easiest to do when it's out like this. Just dump a bunch of isopropyl alcohol in a shop towel and go to town on it. And while we're at it, we'll do the outside of the flywheel. Real easy to do it this way. And we'll set it off to the side. Now we got to deal with all this nonsense here. And we're going to be going through the Q-tips starting right now and spilling isopropyl alcohol all over the place while we're at it. Great! So yeah, when you're doing this mechanism yourself, just don't loosen up this little cogwheel back here, or mode wheel, or whatever you call it. Just got to get all the nasty old grease off and replace it with fresh new grease is what we're doing here. And we're going to have to remove this clip. See if I can do it with just a pair of pliers, and yes I can. There was a washer on there, so we'll have to put it back where it belongs later. Now how badly gummed up is this? Can we even get it off? Barely. It did come off. That's always good. Doesn't take long to get all this stuff real dirty. Note that there's a bunch of old grease underneath as well that we're going to have to replace. Just going to go ahead and use my shop towel because it's way easier than dealing with a bunch of Q-tips. Got to get all this stuff down in here as well. And we got to deal with this big arm here, as well as this probably, although this is kind of moving fairly well already. I don't know how big of a deal that is. This will come off next. Provided I can get myself coordinated enough to do it. So yeah, since I got those little lock bolts taken out of there, I'm gonna have to realign that when I'm done. But that's no big deal, or at least it shouldn't be a big deal. Got a spring here to worry about. But I'm just going to leave that attached and just hang it off to the side. Like so. Should probably disconnect this spring too and lube underneath there, but I don't know if that one needs to be done either. Let's see, it would probably be easier to do it from up here. Maybe not. I don't know. I'll just go like that. And this is the main cause of the problem with the pinch roller not going up and down. This is the pinch roller right here. So I'm going to leave this attached. It's moving well enough. We're going to have to lube that. And I'm going to do that right now while I'm at it. Or thinking about it. Watch my sewing machine oiler come apart. Because that's always wonderful. There we go, a little bit will do the job, I'm sure. And we'll clean the pinch roller more thoroughly when we get to that point. But right now, I gotta move that arm aside so we can put new grease in. Because there sure is a bunch of old grease in here to cramp our style. No, that's still moving a little bit too slow, so we're going to have to get this whole arm off of this post here. And the only way to do that is to actually go ahead and take the pinch roller out. So we're going to do that now. Kind of sucks to do that just after I've got done oiling it, but whatever. I got lots of oil. Well, I guess the pinch roller can just sit there. It doesn't have to come all the way off. But this arm is kind of seized to the shaft. Not real bad. And you got to watch up here as well, because there's this little thing here that flips up and holds the tape against the erase head. And part of this arm holds this down. So when you go to put this back together, make sure that it goes back together like this. Oh, and the pinch roller fell off. Okay, we'll just set it off to the side. Easy enough to put that back on. I'm probably already having to deal with broken wires at the heads, but whatever. We can fix that. I hope. Come on off, Mr. Arm. There it goes, finally. Now, take the shop towel, clean this shaft. And I'm going to try to get this all done today, but if I can't, I'll pick it up again on Thursday. And if I really can't, then I've still got content for you guys while I'm off in the mountains playing around. Okay, now we go down in here, clean up all the old grease from in there. Clean up the grease from the top of the arm. Trying to remember to do this on camera. And I think we should just be right about time to go back together with this. So, oh, I got a little bit more grease to get off up here as well. And we mustn't forget about this arm over here. While we're at it, I'm going to leave that spring in place like I said. Or maybe I didn't say it, I don't know. That's what I'm going to do. First off, a little grease on the shaft over here. Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much at all. Don't want to go overboard. I'm not going to bother with too much grease on that. Got to put some grease on here. And I've heard a lot of people say you got to use Moly Coat for this, but I don't have any Moly Coat. What I've got is Lubriplate 105, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm just putting a small, thin layer along everything that needs potential lubrication. And let me see, is there anything else I gotta put grease on? She goes down like that, so I'm gonna put a little more up on here. That might be a little much. That's fine. A little much doesn't hurt. A lot much does kind of hurt. So don't go too nuts with it. Okay, we can put this back down now. After I get grease off the stuff I didn't want to get grease on. All right. She's moving pretty well now. Now, pinchy roller. I'm going to have to clean this off all over again. A bit later on, but that is okay. I'm putting this back together the wrong way, of course. We got to put the oil keeper on first. And there we go. Pinch rollers on. I'm just going to do one more little drop of sewing machine oil around there just to make sure it can go up and down the way it's supposed to. Now, how else did this go together? Do you remember? All right, this assembly should be done now, for the most part. This arm will engage back with the mechanism down in here, so we'll worry about that later. Didn't quite get all the old grease off this little clip, but it doesn't really matter that much. That is not important at all, really. Moving nicely now. That is good. So we'll gently set this off over here, and I'm checking my head wires, and they're all intact right now, but could go at any time. Now we got to get all of this dealt with, which is going to be fun. I'm just going over the machine right now just to see exactly what I got to do here, and what has to come off first and what has to come off last and such and such. So this rod goes over top of this rod and this rod. And yeah, this whole thing will have to come off. The idlers have to come off. We're going to have to probably resurface the idlers with a generous helping of sandpaper. I don't think they're far gone enough to use rubber renew, so we won't do that. But yeah, all these little arms and stuff, these are all gummed up to heck, and we have to deal with them. There's this little torsion rod here that lifts this idler up and down. We'll have to deal with that as well. And I hope you can see it. Let me move you closer. But yeah, all this stuff has to be dealt with. So, no sense sitting here talking about it. Let's get to it. And this little guy just came from down in here. I don't know why it was there. I don't know if it's important. I'll try to put it back, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it if it's not exactly where it should be. And we've got a washer here that came from nowhere I know about in particular. I might have to look at the service manual to figure out where that goes. I'll just put it with that red pad and hope I can figure it out. It's probably not all that critical. Clearly back at the factory they just smeared a bunch of grease everywhere and called it a day. Okay, just one little quick note before I actually go ahead and put this back together. I figured out what this little orange disc is. This is supposed to be the capstan bearing, or the flywheel bearing, and it's supposed to be glued right there. Only mine isn't glued anymore, so I'm going to have to probably mix up some epoxy and get this glued back down before I continue. So I'm going to do that now. Okay guys, so I got this back together and I think everything's working. I think even this mode wheel is retimed, but could be wrong. I might have to do some more work on that, but I think we got everything going again. And if you're wondering why you're not hearing nice clear audio right now, thank the Patriot 32 gig card that was in my audio recorder, because it's failed and I've got none of that audio to recover. So I'm still going to try and get that card working again, but I don't think it's going to work. And so not too happy with those Patriot cards, I'm saying, or is what I'm saying. But I think we've got this working well enough to just test how well it behaves itself. So we're going to find out here. All right, motor is on. Rewind. Play. Pause. Play again. Pause again. Fast forward. Yeah, we are doing a good job here today. And I did get that thrust bearing, as it's called, re-epoxied, and I hope it hasn't moved while I've been testing this, but I don't think it will have. Anyhow, it's time to do this side of the mechanism and the reel tables. Okay, part 2 of the relube job is going to happen now. And I think what I'm going to do for this part of the video is I'm just going to do high speed, show you everything in one shot without pausing for any explanations or stuff. Just remember what I said in the last section. Take pictures, make note of where everything goes, and you'll be fine. Now, as mentioned in the previous video, I had to stop midway through this in order to re-diagnose the hum issue, which is still there. And we found the cause of the hum issue, but the reason why I actually stopped it in the first place was so I could see how well the mechanism was doing with only 60% of it done. And as it turns out, I found out that there's an issue here with pause. What pause seems to do is it just leaves the machine in playback mode, but it then puts the brakes on. And I found that the brakes are not enough to be able to stop this. It turns out that the idler right here is grippy enough that, yeah, it keeps turning and it keeps turning this reel. So I'm kind of scared that if I go ahead and resurface this idler, it's going to be grippy enough to break the tape. So I'm just going to leave this idler as it is. I'm just going to clean it. This one we will resurface because this is the one that engages the flywheel. And as far as the flywheel goes, it's running great now. And yeah, play works in every mode except 1 7/8. So we're getting there, very slowly but very surely. So enough chit chat, let's get going. Well, folks, I think that's about it for the lube job. Hopefully I got this pulley back on right. If I didn't, I'll check the footage real quick and flip it around the other way. But everything's moving nicely now, but we've got a problem with this guy. It's supposed to be engaging this top section of the capstan, or of the motor gear, and it's not. It's getting caught for some reason. I don't know if it's something I did or what. It's going all the way up on the post, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe it just has to be up like this to do it properly. Let's do it this way. All right, I'll cycle between speeds. And no, it's still getting caught. So I think this little arm is bent a little bit, so we're gonna have to adjust on that real quick. Otherwise, I think we got the lube job finished here, except for the reel tables. And honestly, I'm thinking I might leave those alone now. I don't know, but we just gotta tweak on this and see if we can't get it working better. I'm going to go check the service manual real quick, and then I'll see exactly what has to be done with this. There's possibly an adjustment in there. I'll find out real quick and come back to you. Okay, so yes, there is an adjustment for this. It's this portion right here you have to bend, and you have to bend it so that the clearance up over here is 0.8 millimeters. So let's see if we can do that. Where are my pliers? Of course, this isn't the easiest thing to do here. Actually, let me get my longer needle nose pliers. All right, here we go. Well, that's kind of high. In fact, that's so high that we can't engage the flywheel anymore. Something's not right here. You know what? Let's power this up and then we'll see exactly what happens here. Don't worry about the counter belt. I'll deal with that later. All right, rewind. Yeah, see, that's not supposed to be running on that section of the pulley. That's where it's supposed to be running. But it's clearly dragging. And this side of the idler is running right up against this flywheel. So I think it's twisted, actually. Somehow. Could be it got that way from years of use. That's a little better, but I think I got it twisted too far now. Okay, I got it working. And yes, the arm in behind here was twisted. That was the problem. So yeah, she seems good now. And I talked about resurfacing this, but I found that once I cleaned it, it's plenty grippy enough, so I'm going to leave this alone as well. So I'm going to double check this rewind pulley here to make sure I got it on right. Then we'll put it together and we'll listen to something. Left channel only because the right channel is still humming. All right, we should be ready to listen to this for the first time in God knows how long. And we'll find out exactly what I had recorded on that tape. It's probably Evening at the Improv. I taped that a lot back in the day. Hopefully this thing works now. I decided not to put it all the way back in the case, just in case I have to get back in there for some ungodly reason, which is very possible. Let me just thread this tape here, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, she's threaded. Should be ready to play, I hope. I'm just checking the tape path real quick here. It looks like it's tracking properly. So let's see what's on here. Chipmunks, apparently.
What to do with Wally Cleaver's hair?
Yep, that's Evening at the Improv, all right. And yes, the hum is still there.
Let's have a quick impression. A resident.
Pause is working properly. Fast forward's working properly.
Just about everything. Although most people watch the juggling.
Yeah, when I wasn't taping Evening at the Improv on this machine, I was usually taping movie audio. Like, I'm sure Haunted Honeymoon or something is on here somewhere. I know I recorded Haunted Honeymoon, but it might not have been this tape.
Ain't nothing but... No. He did what? With who? And then we always give each other that great girlfriend advice. Kill him!
Yeah, she seems happy. This is the most it's done in like 20 years.
Someday you will. Every day someone new switches to Fujifilm. Fuji, a new way of seeing things.
Fantastic. I am happy for now. I'm not happy about that hum. I'm really going to try hard to get that fixed yet. But like I said, that's going to be for part 3. For now, I'm happy to report the transport is fully working. Rewind is a little sluggish to get going, but that's kind of what you want. You don't want your tape flapping around all kinds of different directions on this thing. Well, I don't know, maybe I should get in there and relube that reel table yet. Or both. That is kind of slow. And you heard the way it sort of croaked its way going up to speed? That's actually to do with the design of the deck itself. That flywheel in there, it's a giant flywheel. It stops whenever the machine's in stop. There are other machines from Akai and TIAC and Revox that do not stop the flywheel, and that's kind of why I didn't want any more of these Sony machines. But yeah, when you're recording on this, you've got to go into record pause, let the flywheel come up to speed, and then do your recording. But yeah, the machine's working well enough that I'm ready to pronounce it at least relubed. And yeah, I still got to get in there and redo the rest of the caps on the left channel. I will do that too, but I'll save that for Transistor Day. How's that? Anyhow, that's it for this video. I'll see you next time. Take care.